Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for joining, everybody, and welcome to Lesson 3 on Leadership Ascent, practical applications for the marketplace from the life of Joseph. We've already studied that Joseph had to be comfortable with being a leader in an uncomfortable or unbiblical world, Egypt. And we navigated that we've got to realize we're in the world but not of the world, and that is no excuse for us to be less or to fail. We even came to understand that we don't need permission to prosper, that it is in fact God's divine purpose. It's a lot of P's in that. Well, we also had a conversation yesterday that you might not think you have a lot going for you in lesson 2, but there are some things that you do have going for you that you can work on and build that'll increase your value to the marketplace. And one of those things is integrity. Today I want to talk to you about something a little different. I want to talk to you about how you represent yourself and whether that is attractive, distracting, or negative to people around you. I'm always amazed that people seem to be very self-unaware. I'm not talking about you should brush your teeth and you should deodorize. I mean, that's obvious, isn't it? Surely by now we know that. But there are other things that you can do that is just as bad breath, either in tone, attitude, conduct, expression, or people skill. And you might be amazed how incredibly talented, gifted, capable people just close one door after another in their lives because they're not presentable or attractive. And let me tell you that attraction in the marketplace is not about Instagram influencer look. You can't put a filter on it. You're real in that moment. On all your social media representation, you can represent yourself in just the perfect way. You can edit something, you can filter something, you can change, you can take another photo. But you get one opportunity to make a first impression and people will walk away from you feeling either like it was a breath of fresh air or that you took the fresh air out the room. And that matters. And so Joseph in this journey started out not being liked. Remember where the story started. His brothers and half-brothers couldn't wait to get rid of him. He was so arrogant, so full of himself, so full of God dreams. Gosh, sometimes I feel like talking to some Christians and saying, just dial it down a bit. Every day a new visitation, every day a new story, every day. Just hide it in your heart and live a healthy life. Well, Joseph was that guy, just a bit overbearing, a bit too much. Everything was about him. It was his coat and it was his dream and it was the sun and the moon and all of that. And he wasn't liked. By the time he becomes Prince of Egypt, he's loved. And not only that, he's loved by his own family in the end. The people who despised him and imprisoned him become his greatest fans. Well, what was the transition? Well, one of the stories is found in Genesis chapter 40. And that's when he is in prison. Long story. He's in prison. And there he finds the king's cupbearer and baker. They're both in jail because the king had a bad day. And they both have a dream and they don't know the interpretation. And while they're chatting about it, Joseph says, well, I can give you an interpretation to the dream. Can I start there by saying that even though Joseph's life was far from what he would like it to be or what it used to be, he's not sitting in a corner sulking. He's willing to be helpful to someone else. Sulky people have no success in life. You can't succeed because it's not attractive. Nobody wants to help a sulky person. It's draining. You know, the Bible says in the New Testament, don't murmur like the children of Israel did in the wilderness and then a whole generation was lost. Cut it out. You might say, well, I've got a lot of bad stuff going for in my life. That might be so, but please leave it in your prayer closet. And don't take it with you to work. Now you're taking your bad marriage to work, you're walking around with that corpse, everybody's going to hear about it. Then you're walking around with some other drama, everybody's going to hear about it. You need to recognize that when people want to do business with you out there, they want to enjoy the experience and walk away feeling lighter. They don't want to get involved in your personal what. I don't know, maybe I'm sounding too hectic in these leadership podcasts. I might have to reevaluate. I'm going to listen to myself at 7 p.m. I've never done that in my whole life. I want to encourage you. He then not only interprets the dream, it wasn't a great interpretation for one of them, the baker, right? If you don't know the story, the dream interpretation was the following, that God would lift up the head of both of them, but the one he would lift up in public in affirmation, and the other he would lift up on a stake in death. No one wants to hear that. It's the baker who died and the cupbearer who made it back to the king's palace. A couple of days later, 3 days later, it was the king's birthday, and he gave himself a present. He took the head off of the baker and stuck it on a stake and lifted his head up that way, but he invited the cupbearer back to be his cupbearer and give him his drink every day. And by the way, Joseph was asking the cupbearer, when you there near the king, just whisper in his ear and tell him about me. And the cupbearer didn't. Stop expecting other people to open doors for you. It is God who opens doors. Now you're busy sucking up to people who you think are going to do stuff for you when you should be worshiping him because he's already doing stuff for you. Should I not have used that terminology? I don't know. Maybe this is not Sunday, George. Okay, I'm sorry. This is like mid-morning, hasn't eaten yet, George. So here's what happens with him. A couple of lessons that I think are worth remembering. When you want to be an attraction in the marketplace, you see, you can be attractive in the relationship space, and it's not just about looks. I've met many people, they look awesome on the outside. They open their mouths to speak, and all their beauty disappears. So it's not just about that. But you can also be attractive in other ways. You can be attractive in the relationship space. You can be attractive in the church space. How are you attractive there? Well, your life's put together. You behave consistently. You live with righteousness. You offer to help when help is required. You're attractive. But you can also be attractive in the marketplace, in the business space. If you think your CV is the most attractive thing about you, you're missing it completely. How do you make yourself attractive? Well, Joseph learned some good etiquette. In all his journeys, he discovered some good etiquette along the way that made him attractive. And today, I want to invite you to stop certain things so that other things can grow. If you keep filling the landscape of your soul with weeds and thistles, then the good stuff that God's got lined up for you and probably already planted in the ground isn't going to get a chance to grow, because all your food, nourishment, energy, thought, and emotion is being sucked up by all the wrong stuff. So, a couple of things I'd like for you to consider stop doing. It sounds so harsh. I'm so sorry. I really love you. The numbers keep going up, so I'm guessing I'm still okay, but in review, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to sink my head in shame. Number one, stop moaning. Moaning people are not attractive. You moan, and it doesn't have to be moaning about you. Just stop moaning about the government and moaning about the economy. And I don't, if I want to go buy a car from someone, I don't want to sit with them for 15 minutes, walk out of there and feel like I want to jump off a bridge. Why would I want to buy a car? I want to feel like life is moving. I'm progressing. We're all going to make the most of this thing and step forward. Please don't get out there and just be a moaner. It's not attractive in the marketplace. It's unemployable. It's uncontractual. It's not attractive. Joseph had to learn. If I want to be in some big rooms, I got to be appealing to people in those rooms. Number two, please stop blaming. When you spend your life blaming something in the past for something that's going on in the future or the present, then you are making yourself very small in your own story. Surely in the storyline of your own life, Jesus plays the most important role, and you play the role of the hero. Surely. You might say, no wonder Jesus is the hero. No, he's not. He's your savior. He's even bigger than hero. But surely in the play of your own life, you play the part of the hero that never dies. Or do you play the part of the victim that constantly needs to be rescued by a hero? Because if you do, then you're all the time looking for a hero. That's not attractive, is it? I don't know. I don't think so. So stop blaming. And then finally, stop venting. Here's what I found fascinating about Genesis chapter 40. At no point do we read Joseph telling the cupbearer or the baker his woes. Your guys, you think you're in trouble. You're in prison because of this, because of that. Let me tell you, I was the most popular guy in my family. You must see what they did to me. You must see what the jealousy, this, that. If you keep bleeding, I'm telling you now, people are going to avoid you. And if people avoid you, let me tell you that funds come from friends. If people want to do business with you because they like you, you'll always have work. If people have to do business with you because you're good, you'll have work until somebody else can do the job. And if people avoid you, they'll rather not get the work done because they have to deal with you. I don't know. I might be a little too harsh today. I'll tell you what, I will have a rusk before tomorrow's class so that I'm not hangry when I share this devotion, this lesson. I hope that was helpful to you. All I am saying to you is Joseph doesn't get to go from pompous son to prince of Egypt by handling him with kid gloves and carrying him in cotton wool. There's some stuff on the anvil, because that's how you treat steel. You put it in the fire and you put it on the anvil. Now look, if you don't want to be made of steel, different conversation. But if you do, there's a bit of fire and a bit of shaping. Oh man, I hope that's helpful. Colin, was that too deep? Are any of you drowning? I hope you don't drown. Our class numbers have stayed the same, so I'm hoping you aren't punishing me, or you're watching now purely like someone does an accident. You're wondering, how harsh is this kid going to get? I mean, this guy going to get. I fairly firmly believe that if we're going to be victorious, we've got to stop playing around in the shallow end of emotional immaturity. And we've got to step out in faith and let God make us the mighty men of valor and the mighty women of God that we know we can be. And you know what I'm talking about because you're frustrated without it. Hey everybody, that was lesson 3 on the leadership ascent. It was a steep climb today, but trust me, the view's incredible from the top. And I certainly hope that you'll take the time to grow in it. Stay sane, stay safe, and stay spiritually strong. See you same time tomorrow. God bless everybody. Have a great, great day. Bye.